to kind of put a bow on this NCAA college basketball streak we've been on the last 3 days, some new comments from Greg Sankey coming out. He has decided that tooling with college football is not enough for his ego, and he now needs to do that into college basketball. There was a story put out the other day by Pete Thamel, and Greg Sankey here's some quotes from him. Nothing remains static. I think we have to think about dynamics around Division I and the tournament, speaking about college basketball. He said that runs by UCLA from the first four to the Final Four in 2021, Syracuse from the round of 16 to a play-in game in Dayton. 2018, it shows the power of the Power 5 schools.
Yeah, the big conferences.
Quote, that just tells you that the bandwidth inside the top 50 is highly competitive. We are giving away highly competitive opportunities for automatic qualifiers, and I think the pressure is going to rise as we have more competitive basketball leagues at the top end because of expansion. So what you're telling me is the Dayton Flyers of the world, the FAUs of the world.
Wasn't VCU the year Shaka took them to the Final Four? They came through Portland. I believe they were 11 seed and won a play-in game.
Shaka
I believe
Smart,
you're correct.
What was George Mason the year they went to the Final Four? Were they were 12
They were a
seed?
12 seed, yeah. And they beat.
You can find an examples both ways.
Yes.
This is not the college football playoff. The NCAA tournament, the beauty of the event itself is you have the David and Goliath matchups. If you want to expand the tournament, which to 96 teams or whatever, nobody wants to see 86 power conference schools in it.
No, and I love your example of VCU. VCU goes to a run on a Final Four. If VCU doesn't have that opportunity and goes on a run of Final Four, do you think Shaka Smart has the job at Marquette?
You think he would have gotten the job at Texas?
Exactly. No, Shaka Smart is probably still at VCU or finally climbed his way. He just got the new Oklahoma State job at the bottom of the conference.
He would have had
somebody was like,
through.
This guy at VCU is kind of smart. That's the other thing, too. Also, do we have Steph Curry in the NBA if we don't have Davidson going on a run?
He probably gets in, but he doesn't get the opportunities that he would.
He's not a lottery pick.
No, he's in, but he's definitely isn't given the free.
Here's
If
another
Sankey
question.
wants to run a professional sports league, go run a professional
do it, dude.
sports
Just go
league.
away. Leave basketball alone.
Leave basketball alone.
See, but I also
have you ever heard of Ja Morant? Do you think Ja is? Have you ever heard of Damian Lillard or C.J. McCollum?
Yeah, these guys don't happen without the tournament.
Dame probably, but C.J. McCollum and Lehigh beat Duke.
Yeah.
We don't
As a
see
15, right? And what I see that he's doing, I don't want the change. I want that very clear. But I do think that he's an evil genius because what Sankey has done is 10, 15 years ago, college football will never change. It's going to be the bowl system. Maybe we'll get to a playoff. It'll never change. We're not doing any of the realignment. And he has taken his conference that has all the power in football to put them in a position to where they have enough power by grabbing other universities, big name universities, Texas A&M, Texas, and pulling them in. Once he has done that with football, they have now started to invest more and more money into basketball. He is trying to do the same thing, and he thinks that he can get away with it scot-free because he was able to do it in football. I don't necessarily know how you stop him unless it's the Big Ten saying, no, it has to stay this way, or a conference like the Mountain West, like the Big East, being so basketball dominant, being so good at basketball that they can't be left out of the conversation.
Yeah, Big East just punted on football, basically. They were just like, we're good.
Well, I think, there's too many other CBS, I think, has recently renewed their contract with the NCAA for it, and the Division I Basketball Council. There's too many other people in the room. I don't think the SEC can bully their way the way they can in football because there's just not as many voices in the room.
Also, I don't think SEC's voice is loud enough even in the room. Like, they're a little Johnny-come-lately to this party right now. Like, they've got a conference
I imagine
building.
there'll be a whole lot of backlash.
Yeah, and I just... Plus,
we're tired of seeing, for every one of those UCLA examples, you can find 7 examples of some 18-13 team that was 7th or 8th, right around 500 in a power conference that went in and flamed out.
But there's a texter who's kind of back in Oregon here from me kind of bashing them. talking about 8 scholarship players and got a bunch of guys in injuries, and they're in the Pac-12 tournament semifinals. So, like, let's not crap on them. Fine. If they get in under Greg Sankey's situation right now, they're a 14 seed. And I'm going to tell you, whoever's the 14 seed, I'd rather watch than Oregon be the 14 seed. I don't need mediocre power conferences.
Well,
it's like if the playoff comes around, dude. I don't really want. I want less automatic bids from conferences.
I just want to reward winning.
Exactly.
In college basketball, I want to reward winning.
Exactly.
I don't want to reward because you're in a power conference and your net rating gets propped up because you have all of these close losses to other top 50 schools or quad one. No, you got to win some of those at some point.
Right. Do you want a 4-10 quad one record of Villanova into the big dance as opposed to a team that, they might not have all those quad one games, let alone wins, but they went out and they took care of business and they won their tournament. Like if you have always...
Villanova's a great point. Like they've been fun to watch of recent, but they're down.
Yes.
You put them in the tournament, they're going to get smoked.
Yeah. And you should be rewarded when you do what is asked of you. You have always been asked, if you win your conference tournament, you will get into the big dance. Why should we punish some of those smaller schools just because they don't get the eyeballs, they don't get the love? It's March Madness. Don't touch it. At 68, even that has its own issues with the first 4 in, right? For me, once you start expanding it past this 68, that's where it loses some of its luster. And if you do a whole thing where it should only be the big name schools in it, the Power Five, even if you threw in like, okay, we'll throw in the Big East in basketball because they are so dominant in basketball and they get so many eyes for college basketball, so we'll throw them in. It loses what made it great.
Yeah, you're tooling with stuff too much to a point where you could ruin it. And speaking of that, it looks like it's all but done deal that in 2026 we've got more changes to the college football playoff.